Well, this season has been a season of injury at the quarterback position, hasn't it, Cincinnati? But overall, you've outperformed the expectations given the circumstances in my mind. But let's go ahead and break down your 2023 season and see kind of where it all went wrong. And where it all went wrong started week 1. Ay caramba. Losing to the Browns, losing to the Ravens, and you lost by a combined 24 points in those games. You got blown out by the Browns, 24-3. You didn't even put up a fight. I get Joe Burrow wasn't really healthy, but still, you gotta play better. At least bench Joe Burrow if he's not 100%. You didn't know what you had in Jake Browning at the time, but still, it couldn't have gotten any worse than 3 points. And then you finally get your first win at home against the Rams, but the Rams weren't really great at that time. That team was still muddling through a couple of things. They were struggling, and they were having some hiccups here and there. They really gelled together, the Rams, as the season went on, but either way, the Bengals just barely beat them out. And then they followed that up with a loss to the Titans by 24 points. The Tennessee Titans. I get that Joe Burrow wasn't really healthy, but we take a look, and as Joe Burrow started to get healthier, the team started playing better. The team rallied around Joe, following that Tennessee Titans loss up with a win over the Cardinals by 14, beating the Seahawks by 4, beating the Niners by 2 tutties, beating the Bills, and only losing to the Texans by 3 points. Things were looking better. Things were looking bright for Cincinnati. They were clawing their way back into the playoff picture, and they were looking like a genuine contender. That was until things just went south for them. Starting off with the Ravens game, on Thursday Night Football, Joe Burrow came in wearing a little sort of a brace on his throwing hand, was not on the injury report all week, and ends up having to come out of that game due to the injury and due to the injured arm and hand. So he ends up coming out of that game. Ravens end up winning by 14. Jake Browning named the starter as Burrow had to have season-ending surgery. And, it didn't start out great, losing 16-10 to the Steelers. But Jake Browning looked promising. He looked promising in that Ravens game. Didn't really look great in the Steelers game, but in either of the Steelers games, actually. But against Jacksonville, against Indianapolis, against Minnesota, getting 3 critical wins, it looked like Jake Browning very well could have sent you guys to the promised land. But then follow that up with a loss to the Steelers in embarrassing fashion a couple Saturdays ago by 23 points to Mason Rudolph on Christmas Eve. And following that up with an 8-point loss on New Year's Eve to the Chiefs. Things really weren't looking all that great for you, and you end up getting eliminated because of that loss to the Chiefs. So where do we go from here, Cincinnati? Well, you proved that you had a good in-house backup. You were the most prepared franchise, in my opinion, for an injury at the quarterback position. Yeah, the Titans had Will Levis, but look at what he did. He had a couple good games, and then he fell off a cliff. Jake Browning was able to maintain that level of play for about 4 games. And even against Kansas City, he played well. He played pretty well, all things considered, in Arrowhead. But at the same time, this team's window is starting to close. You have a lot of expiring contracts on big-name players, and if you can't retain any of those players because of that massive Joe Burrow contract that he signed in this offseason, you got some problems. It was either this offseason or last offseason, but either way, it was a massive contract, and Joe Burrow that contract is going to hurt Cincinnati. You had the window to win with his rookie scale contract, and you didn't. You got close. I give you credit. You got close. You made the Super Bowl, lost to the Rams, and then came up short. So from there, you looked all right. Just a little bit as the window's closing, it looks like you guys might be in a bit of a struggle for years to come if you can't restructure some contracts and bring back these big-name players.